get a human life and a human body, and you do nothing. You run it until it runs out of gas. And you're definitely on a road trip here. Life is a road trip, isn't it? It's called the road of life. Science has now started to study this, what they call this mortality gene. That's like a nickname. I'm sure it has some Latin name. But this mortality gene, which is the experiential gravity, the component that actually relates to the experiential gravity to take the being down so that the being can then be done away with. You know, so new beings can come and old beings don't. Can you imagine just the world filled with 500-year-old people? 1,000-year-old people? Wow. Wow. They have noticed in computer projections that the human mortality cuts off around the year 110. And I would venture to say that 110 is a number of logic, but a metaphysical number is 108. Huh? On every mullah there's 108 beads. The distance between the earth and the sun is 108 times the sun's diameter. The distance between the earth and the moon is 108 times the moon's diameter. I would venture to say that they're close, but metascience is closer, that it's 108. That if you can build your system to get to that point of 108, all else equal, you got a ways to go. Now they've also noted in holistic medicine that if you get through your 40s and 50s without these major decliners, that you're pretty much good to go. So you have these waves of life that can actually carry you so that you're not susceptible to running out of gas in the middle of your dream. What does running out of gas in the middle of your dream cause? Extreme regret. And on those left behind, extreme sadness. But this is not a necessity. What we have here is we have a human body. And in this human body, there are a couple of things that run throughout the body. And one of the things that runs throughout the body is your blood, correct? And you can affect your blood by how you breathe. Do you breathe air or do you breathe smoke? That will definitely affect your body. You can affect your blood by what you eat. What are the minerals and the elements that you're actually putting into your body that will ultimately be distributed by your blood? Because that biological enthusiasm of your youth is based on your pediatrics, is based on the fact that the way you come out of the factory of the womb, and all the womb means is future. That's what the actual word means, future. The way we come out of the womb is rather balanced, provided that we didn't have an extremely imbalanced mother. And if we did have an extremely imbalanced mother, that is the equation, equal to the perfection of what we are to overcome. Now remember that the mother's DNA is the only DNA in the mitochondria of every cell of our body. that throughout the cell body, there's both the mother's DNA and the father's DNA. But in the mitochondria, which is the key to the cell, it's that little unit that has all of these microscopic glands and organs within every cell. And a cell is microscopic within itself. Can you imagine the little fingers that put that together? Blood is throughout our body. The other thing that is throughout our body is the myofascia, or is what is often called the fascia. The fascia is not only throughout our body just to hold it together, because it's like webbing that holds everything together. We have 17 muscle groups in our tongue. The most complex muscle system in our entire body is in our tongue, because our vocal anatomy is such that we are phenomenal with what we can do with our tongue. Making sounds and words that are actual codes, and that's the whole science of mantra, actual codes to affect our entire biology. Every one of those 17 muscle groups within your tongue is housed within a sac of fascia. Every bone is housed in fascia. Every muscle group in your body is housed in fascia. Every gland and organ is housed in fascia. When you get Heller work, or what's the other one called? Rolfing. That's what they're actually working into, is they're working into the myofascia, so that instead of being in the shape of what you've allowed it to become, they can strive to return it to its original condition. Every gland and organ is in a sac of fascia. Otherwise, when you'd go around a corner, all of your glands and organs would slosh to the side and get all tangled up and mixed up. Seriously. And all of the glands and organs of the body are actually, their fascia is connected into that central point, which is your navel point, the only adhesion in your body that was meant to be there. So everything in your body revolves around that navel point. And that's why centering the navel point, which is what we do in Kundalini Yoga oftentimes, is so important. Because when your navel point is centered, then your glands and organs communicating with each other, both through the endocrine system, the peptides and hormones, and through the blood, but also electromagnetically through the fascia. And what does all of this do? All of this works with the intelligence of your body. And the intelligence of your body, every part of your body is an extension of something. Because if a part of your body wasn't an extension of something, it wouldn't be there. Because evolution only produced the physical world via the needs of the physical world. There was a need for your thumb to be rotated. It started out in line with the rest of your fingers because it was just to be used to walk. It was a front foot. Your toe didn't rotate, but your thumb did. Why? Because when you stood up and stopped using your hands 3.5 million years ago, stopped using your hands as front feet, they started to be used as manipulators, things that would the mind, ipulate, work or unpuzzle the world around you. And as your need to be able to put these two together grew and grew and grew because you were doing this and this. Look at a primate, the way they grab things. They actually grab things. They don't hardly even use their thumb. And then look at a dog. A dog often holds things. And look at how that impulse to hold things with the hands, or the front feet in that case. So every part of your body was caused through hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of years of registration of a need, of an impulse, of a projection. Your feet are your direction. Your ankles are the momentum through which you move. Your ankles, boom. Some people move without momentum, and you must check your walking. Some people just bend the ankle and plop, because walking is just falling and catching yourself. That's all walking is. That's why it's so crazy for young kids to learn. You know, why should I stand up and then fall? And they don't always catch themselves. A child will fall more times learning to walk than it will ever fall after it's fully learned to walk. So walking is just standing, falling, catching, standing, falling, catching. Now, if you want to add some momentum to or intention to that, you start using the leverage of your legs. And I could go through this, but this is a very complex subject. I'm just brushing over it. To let you know that every part of that whole system, down to the microscopic components, is registering a signal to every other part of the system through the myofascia, electromagnetically through the myofascia. And the result of all of that is that this is what we used for Thanksgiving. You see that, where is it? Thanksgiving, right? And then somebody said, I think it was Guru Singh, said, wow, it looks like a turkey. See the turkey in it?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Of course, we saved a lot of turkeys. So all of those activities, every one of those electromagnetic experiences, every one of those chemical experiences creates a vibration, a frequency. And that frequency is deposited into your aura. That's what this was about. Into your electromagnetic field that surrounds you. Every object, every material object has an auric field, an electromagnetic field. You can program the body of your aura. And if you can start programming the body of your aura, you actually have the ability to make it through what would normally be experiential gravity without having it bring you to your grav, or as we pronounce it, grave. You could have a situation take place. Okay, the situation has taken place. Will my disappointment untake place the situation? Which will correct it more easily for me, the user of this vessel? My enthusiasm, my inspiration, my creativity, or my disappointment and my sadness and my regret and my betrayal? Which? A or B?
A.
You have a choice to make in that moment, don't you? Do you make the choice, or do your emotions make the choice? That is what you have the capacity to do. You have the capacity to make the choices that you have the choice to make. And when you start really moving into your body glove, when you start fully occupying your being begins to have greater value because you're occupying it. No dusty corners. And when your being begins to have greater value, that value registers. And that value registers in your psyche in the form of awareness and super awareness. Because when you have something of great value, you don't see a mother walking around holding on to the foot of her child while the child's head is bouncing on the ground as she's walking. Do you? But if that same woman were to pick up an electrical cord, she might drag that electrical cord across the room, correct? She's not going to grab the foot of the child and drag the child across the room because the child has such incredible value. It's treated differently. when your body has incredible value.